and throw up.
How are you, Sister Katrina?
I am much better this week, Pastor Aubrey. How are you?
I'm good. Better. Oh yeah, you do sound better, so that's good.
I feel better. Oh my gosh. I didn't think it was as bad as. I mean, I didn't think it was as bad, but
Okay.
everybody I told, they were like, "Oh no." So I'm like, yeah, I guess pneumonia can get pretty bad.
Yeah, I've had it a few times.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I was pretty blessed. No hospitalizations. Husband took care of me rather well. So
Oh, isn't that sweet?
yeah. So how are you doing?
I am blessed and highly favored. Doing some excited. I think how did I put that? I feel excited and eager. Some good things on the horizon. It's just taking time. I think that's the other thing is learning patience. Um, Good thing comes to those who wait.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel the same way. It's like there's a lot of great things on the horizon. Um, and putting the work in, right? So you're putting the work in and you're eager to see the work come to fruition that you've put in place.
Yes,
So,
yes. Well, we talked about emotional rest last week. Any uh, takeaways that you want to share or?
um, you know what? Yes, actually, I had to learn and really focus in as I was feeling sick. I had to really process what emotional rest looked like. I was like, well, part of my job is to take on other people's emotions and help them process that. So I'm dealing with that on a regular basis. So implementing like my Mondays and being consistent with that, I have to be right. I have to have a way to get it out myself, right? So therapy is necessary for me. Every good therapist needs a therapist. Um, and just making sure that I'm implementing the rest that I need. So I can't tell someone to do it if I'm not willing to.
Yeah.
Right. So
How do you or how have you learned to disconnect from things that do come to you? How do you?
well, I think one of the blessings that I've been given in this calling, and I call it a calling, is the fact that I've experienced a lot of things that I help other people work through. Right. So I feel like because I've experienced that and I've worked through my own stuff, it's much easier for me to disconnect. It's like
Okay.
I'm healed. I'm walking in my healing. So my goal and my job is to just help people get to the other side. In addition to that, I embrace Philippians 4:8. I feel like I live that out. So when people are sharing with me their emotions and what they're experiencing, I'm automatically seeing, or somehow God has allowed me to see what He's doing.
Okay.
Right. So it's like I'm looking for God in everything. So my job is not to tell them but to help them come to that conclusion and give them the tools that they need to get there as well. Because if I don't give them the tools and I'm just telling them how to do it, people won't embrace it and won't learn to walk through it themselves. So I feel like it's a lot easier for me to disconnect in that way. Um,
I have a good friend of mine who tries to stay away from conversations or situations that he feels like he will carry with him. In other words, he doesn't know how to disconnect from it, and it's sort of like someone telling you they're hungry, and you go away, and all you can think about is them trying to get them food. Like it moves from their issue to yours. Um,
and here's the thing, I've tapped into resources, right? And there are some times when I'm like, okay, what's going on? Is there it can I help, for one? And is it within my um is this something that God is calling me to help? Because I learned a long time ago that I'm not God, and there are some things that I can actually impose myself in situations, and I become an enabler.
okay.
So I've learned not to do that as much. And I think you'll also notice there are times when I'm not necessarily on the prayer line, because then I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? So I have to do that too as well. Separate myself from things, and then I can have conversations. I've learned to listen. It's not my job to fix everybody.
Okay.
That's what God is for. So if I can help, are you asking me for my help? Are you asking me for something? So I've learned to put myself in a space where I can say, like, and actually, I'm not even going to ask them, are you asking me? If they don't ask, those mouths don't get fed. So I'm not just automatically volunteering, but I also believe there's a discerning spirit to where if someone struggles with asking, I can help them get to that place to where they can ask.
Wow. Yeah, and so I think the the let's talk a little bit about empathy. And I'm seeing that there are three kinds: there's cognitive, emotional, and then compassionate. And the cognitive says I'm understanding someone else's thoughts and their perspective. The emotional says I'm feeling what another person feels and sharing their emotional experience. Um, that's the one I think that he deals with, is that emotional empathy and trying to. Um, it's like I I can't keep feeling what you're feeling.
When you have that, I don't necessarily know that it's easy to separate from that. So, one of the things that I recognize, Pastor Aubrey, because I am empathic and I can probably tell you where you're feeling it at, and you may not even recognize where you're feeling it at. I don't know if it's I feel like it's just an anointing,
Okay.
um, and it happens. But one of the things that so I'll kind of direct. So can you tell me what you're feeling right now? What you're feeling in the moment? Because I feel it in the moment.
Okay.
But my job in feeling it in the moment is to help someone else recognize that.
Okay.
So that's how I've learned to use my empathy,
Okay.
because I don't know how many times you've sat around with someone and you ask them, well, how are you feeling about that? And they're like, numb, I don't feel anything.
Okay.
But the
Wait,
truth of
go ahead. No, no, finish. I want you to finish that. Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is they are feeling it somewhere in their body, but it's just become the norm
Okay.
that they can't even identify that that feeling is associated with what they're going through.
That's interesting because I've got a couple of friends who are going through their blood sugars are like in sky high. I mean, they're out of whack, and the medications that they normally work with is not working. And what they both identified was it was associated with stress,
Mhm.
and that and they were taking on this stress, and trying to, so in my, because it was coming across, it was coming from not understanding how to let go of that stress, which is sort of what we're, leaning in today when we talk about emotional rest, but we're also sort of connects with spiritual rest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, and I believe that's, I don't think you can have empathy. You can have it and not be connected to the spirit, but I think it's important for you to connect to God's spirit when you have it.
Right.
Ruby asked, "How do I control that?" Because you get frustrated when trying to teach them. First of all, it's not necessarily our job to dictate whether or not somebody receives what you're trying to teach them. Because if that was the case, I have clients, right? I encounter people and they don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
Right. So you come back and they're still feeling the same way, and it's a repetitive thing and nothing's changing. And one of the things I have to be clear about is I know that you're not doing the work. You only get an hour with me. If you're not putting into practice what I'm teaching you, that is your responsibility. And we have to get to a place to where we allow people to be responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think that's empathy a lot causes us to want to take everything in and carry their burdens and carry, I know this is bearing one another's burdens, but I can